Hey everybody, before we get started with the podcast, I wanted to let you know that we're giving away a multi-mobile edge cell camera, and we're also throwing in some Outcast gear for you as well. The rules to enter in this giveaway are really simple. I'm going to leave a link to a video on our Facebook page and Instagram page that really details how you can enter, and all of the rules will be in the description below. But I wanted to take a minute and let you know that that giveaway is happening. Go see our Facebook page or use the link below to see how you can enter. Deadline for this will be October 1st. And with that being said, let's get to the podcast. Thank you guys for supporting us. Welcome back to another episode of the Outcast Hunting Podcast. Today, I have a guest on that I've been asking a lot of questions about archery too. We've been bouncing ideas off of each other. One of my former students, Hudson Dean.
The best student he's ever had.
That's right.
Controversy.
I never had any problems with you. I never did. You were good.
A lot of others did.
we don't have to talk about it.
Archery.
Yeah. So you recently got just a couple days ago, you bought a new bow, yeah?
Matthews Lift.
Matthews Lift. How you liking it?
I love it. It's so fast. It shoots so good compared to other. Well, I didn't really shoot any other bows, but I love it.
But you did have a V3X for a little bit.
Yeah, I had a Matthews V3X, Halon before that.
Now, you used to be pretty big into the archery, right? Didn't you shoot a lot of tournaments and stuff? But you hadn't done that in a while, have you?
No, I'm a has-been now.
You getting back into it?
Yeah, definitely.
For real?
Yeah, I want you to do it. I need a partner. I don't want to do it alone.
I really do want to. And I've been looking at some of the target bows.
Yeah.
Of course, Bowtech. I've been looking at the Bowtechs.
What's your axle?
On that one, I think it's 33.
You could target hunt with that. You could 100%.
Target shoot with it?
Yeah, I was going to target shoot with my 29. It's definitely a 33.
I think it is a 33.
Look on that limb right there.
70-pound limb. I don't see. I'm almost positive it's
definitely
33.
a 33.
I'm almost positive it is.
Look at it compared to that. It's 100% a 33.
Yeah,
if not
definitely
longer
is.
than that. But
isn't that 33? Isn't that about what the target bows are going to be anyway?
Yeah.
What's the axle? Is that typical axle length?
I mean, it depends what. Like the Open Pro and the non-pro guys, they're running a 40-inch axle to axle, 38-inch axle to axle. But here lately, it's been a big trend to go down. So like Matthews is making a 36 axle to axle tournament bow, and I shot a 32 when I did it.
So when you had your target bow, did you have one of those really long stabilizers?
Oh yeah, and a scope. Yeah.
What's the
6-power scope?
What's the point in the long stabilizer?
It's to get your weight farther down. So, I mean, there's a bunch of. Think about like the guys that walk a tightrope. If they had a short little stick, they could not do it. You know what I'm talking about? Like
No.
You walking a tightrope across the Grand Canyon.
I know tightrope, but what do you mean a short stick?
They hold a stick, like a 30-foot long stick, across their waist, and it helps them balance.
Oh, I didn't know this part.
All right, hold up. I'm going to sound stupid if I don't show you.
I mean, I believe you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I didn't know about that part of it. So the longer it is, the more it balances. But I thought the stabilizer was all about weight.
Yeah, so like, look at this. Oh my God. See the guy, he's holding they all hold these sticks.
Yeah.
And they have weights at the end.
Okay.
And it helps them balance. And notice all of them are curved down.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets your center of gravity farther down.
Okay.
So when you make them longer, obviously it makes everything more drastic.
But what would be the difference in shooting a long stabilizer that's less weight and a short stabilizer that's heavier weight?
Well, I mean, the longer one's going to be less weight. And it's going to, so basically you can run a lot less weight on a longer stabilizer to make the same effect of a short stabilizer with a lot of weight.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So like if you put a lot of weight on that bow to make it feel like that, it's going to be 5 pounds heavier.
Okay. See, I had it in my mind that the length of that stabilizer was basically adding up to about the same weight of a heavy short stabilizer. That's why I was confused on it.
No.
I'm asking all this because I'm genuinely curious.
I mean,
I'm not trying to like.
most of the target guys, they're I mean, they shoot so much, they're strong at it, so they do have as much weight as a short stabilizer, but that's just to hold more solid. So like yesterday when I set that bow up, I had 2 ounces on the front and 4 on the back, and when I was sighting it in, I had weird like left to right movements. It was just bouncing, and so I added another ounce on the front, and it took that away.
Yeah.
It's just weird. I mean,
Now I have seen
it's hard
that.
to explain.
I have seen that because I've experimented with that on my bow because my pin is just floating all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's real fast, and I wanted to slow it down, so I put more weight on it. So I get what you're saying there. Question: have you seen the offset stabilizer bar? It connects
What do you
to. So it's.
Like the bee stinger one that comes straight back?
I don't know. This is the one that's made by Podium Archer. It goes on where that little wrist sling is.
Yeah.
And you bolt it on where the stabilizer usually screws into, and it's offset. So your stabilizer bar, instead of sitting right in the, you know what I'm talking about now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Have you tried one?
No, I haven't.
So when I did it, I had that on there because I think it's like a shortcut or a cheater's way of having the sidebar. Look, I'm not saying it's the same thing now, okay?
What bow?
But I think it's trying to accomplish the same thing. And basically, like your sights, and you have this weight that's on the right side of your bow, and the idea behind it is to put that weight instead of the center on the left
offset your
side.
quiver or something like that.
Exactly. But when I put that extra weight, it just started, I don't know, my bow started feeling weird. There's like more vibration in it.
Yeah.
But when I took it off and put it back in the center with that heavier weight, I still had less pin float. It slowed it down, and it took that vibration out. I don't know. Have you ever shot one of those offsets?
I haven't. I've only shot a back bar. I had a single stabilizer when I first started, and then when I started shooting tournaments, I got a back bar, and I haven't shot anything different.
We've been shooting arrows and tinkering a little bit the past couple of days. I'm on a mission to find a I can't even think of what, lighted knock that shoots like my practice tips. And I've shot around guys, you included, you shoot the lighted knock and it hits with the rest of your practice arrows, no problem. But every time I've ever tried it, they hit like 2 or 3 inches low at 20, 30 yards. And today I even went and bought some, because everybody tells me I should be shooting Easton axis. You included.
And you should be shooting Matthew's bow.
That's not the problem. And I went and bought a couple of those arrows, and still had the same problem. So I'm at a loss as to what.
I really don't know what it is.
Maybe somebody will watch this and
give you something.
Give you some feedback.
I've never had that problem, luckily. I've had a lot of problems in archery, but not that one. Mm-hmm. They've always just flown exactly right. Like I told you the other day when you told me about that, I was like, why are you even...
Yeah, you didn't realize like it would even be a problem.
I didn't know that was a problem.
So I'm the first one that you've seen struggle with that.
The second, I guess. Yeah, second.
Who was the first?
My buddy I was telling you about. He asked me about... My buddy up in Auburn asked me about sighting in for lighted knocks, and I looked at him like he was stupid. He had 3 heads.
You're right. I remember that now.
But, I mean, I've always shot at Easton Axis and a Matthews bow, so I've never had a problem.
Good.
We're going to sell them on this podcast.
Hudson is hating on my Bowtech.
No, I'm not.
Core SR.
No. The Bowtech is a great bow.
I really do love it. And I know I've said it on here before and like in conversation with you, but the biggest reason that I went with that is because you can tinker with it more and there's more adjustments.
100%.
Anyway, and like if I'm trying to tune arrows to it, it's easy to just turn that Allen key and the cams just shift over however you need it to.
You can move your top hats like that?
Yes. So I don't have to shim.
Cool.
It just, I turn a screw and it turns over.
Yeah. Is the peg on the cam the Is that your draw stop?
Yes, one of them is the draw stop, and then there's the other adjustments you see are the actual draw length adjustment.
I will tell you though, the one problem I have with the adjustable draw length is they never feel as good as like a mod system like Matthews has. For some reason, I don't know what
Is that why the Matthews feel so much smoother?
I think so.
Because I will say that the few times that I've shot a Matthews,
Which I mean that's cam also.
Yeah.
But
and it's just so dead in the hand. That's the only way I know to describe it. It's just Anyway.
And they shave so many pounds. Like that one compared to my V3X is total difference in how much they weigh.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I will say if I had a bow press, I would probably lean more toward Matthews, and I would want to shoot that just because they are so smooth, and I don't know. I do feel like they're probably top of the line.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to see Hoyt's new stuff, but there's nowhere around here that I can see
What's the deal with Hoyt? Because there are some people that do like them, but then I hear other people say that they're jerks.
Hoyt's great, but I mean, the reason they don't sell them up here is because the sales rep told him that he had to have 10 on the shelf at all times. So
they would have to buy 10 bows.
Yeah, so 10 bow. I mean, that's 20, 30 grand.
But then again, he spends that on Matthews.
Yeah, but he sells them.
Well, that's true.
I don't know. I really don't know the full story on that, but Hoyt's a great bow.
I've heard so many stories about Hoyt. I shouldn't say this, I don't guess, but this is just what I've heard.
Go ahead.
But there was a guy that I talked to that used to have dealings with Hoyt, and he never went into detail on what all they did, but he just said they were a bunch of jerks, and he started shooting 4 Matthews, and anyway, and he had other people that, like, I don't want to say sponsored him because I don't know if that's the right word in this situation, but like I know Easton sent him arrows.
That's a sponsor.
So I think I really do think he knew what he was talking about as far as like the company itself and the people that worked for it. And I see a lot of these YouTube influencers pulling away from Hoyt and going to Matthews. Seek One being one of them. We have a thing on the podcast, by the way, where we always mention Seek One.
It's kind of hard not to.
So,
I mean, they're huge.
So I'm gonna do it again.
I mean, Matthews is awesome. Like the other day, there was a guy. It's literally a 2000 model bow, 20-something years old, and he needed new cams for it. And Matthews, like this happened last week, took the cams and machined him new ones, and gave him new cams for his 25-year-old bow.
I heard that on a podcast recently that Matthews is like one of the only companies that services their products,
no matter what.
No matter what. Like even if you have one of the old switchbacks, is that a really old one?
Yeah, that's the bow I was talking about. Actually.
Okay. And I think this is the one they were talking about on the podcast that you can get parts for it any time.
Yeah. Now they may not have to be the same camo, but like if you need a new limb, they will get you a new limb for whatever bow.
That's pretty big.
Oh, 100%.
Pretty big.
And I mean, they shoot so good.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a tournament and look at everybody's jersey and see what they're wearing. It's gonna be Matthews.
Yeah.
All the winners.
Which Chris B used to shoot for Hoyt, and I didn't hear any negative comments from him. But in some of the watching of YouTube videos, I did see where he used to shoot for Hoyt, and then did he go to somewhere else after that, or did he go straight to Matthews?
He went straight to Matthews, and he's been there ever since.
Now you said that you got to talk to Chris B one time.
Yeah.
Tell me that story, or tell everybody that story. Because I think this is cool.
We were at a tournament in Fort Benning, Georgia, and we were in line getting signing in. You have to, at the beginning of the weekend, you have to go sign in, get your postcard, and it tells you like where you're shooting, what range you're shooting at. Mm-hmm. And he was in front of me, and I wouldn't talk to him. I was scared. This is years and years ago. I still would be scared, actually.
Yeah.
And Mama actually is the one who talked to him. Mama tapped on him, and anyway, me and him started talking, and we talked for probably 20 minutes about arrows and just random stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think it was that same tournament I got on the practice range with him, and him and Levi Morgan were a target behind me, and they did not miss a shot. I mean, it made you want to go home. And
wow.
Yeah, it's a different
See, I've been thinking about doing or I won't say I've been thinking about it, but like part of me really does want to do some of the archery tournaments in the off season, and mainly because I've heard stories. Somebody told me that they were on the practice line and like they were on the practice line with Levi Morgan, and part of me would think that is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And would just love it. And the other part would be nervous as all get out. I would choke under pressure.
I really don't think you would.
You don't think so?
No, I mean everybody up there is so nice. I mean, you really don't feel the pressure until it's your time to shoot in your tournament. Mm-hmm. It almost feels like they're not even shooting the same tournament as you. Mainly because yours is not for money and theirs is. But
when you saw them, were they using target setups or was it hunting setups?
It was target setups.
Target.
They only shoot target setups at the tournaments.
There's not a little classification for hunting bows?
No, there is. There is, but they don't.
I got
like
you.
Levi and Chris, they shoot the tournament bows.
I got you.
But you could take that bow and shoot a tournament with it. You should.
Would people look down on me because I took a bow tech out there?
No.
Would they look down on me if I took a crossbow out there?
Yes. Yes. And there is a crossbow. There is a crossbow section of the tournament.
Yeah. Hudson was giving me trouble about my stance on the crossbows.
I have been giving you trouble for years.
You have.
Years.
Even when you were in my classroom, you were giving me trouble about using the crossbow.
As my teacher, I still made fun of you for that. Is what shooting a crossbow gets you. A 15-year-old making fun of you.
You were 18, to be fair.
I think I was 18.
You're a senior.
But I don't know. I cannot get behind it. Some people, I get it. Like your situation, I get it.
Well, and I had a deeper conversation with it. I won't say a deeper conversation. I think some of the times that I don't want to be like the Hunter podcast. I don't want to be like the Hunter podcast and like always bash crossbows and baiting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like they do it all the time. But we've talked about it a few times on here, and I enjoy hearing people's opinion on it before they know mine. And then I just get to say, well, we have a different opinion. I used to shoot a crossbow, and I don't mind doing it from time to time. And then you just see like they're going, oh okay. Okay.
Simple.
But
so what is your opinion on it?
I don't see anything wrong with it. It's legal by the state. If it gets you in the woods hunting, then I think that's a good thing. And I won't go into the whole story, but like briefly, it was the most cost efficient thing at the time for me to get into archery hunting. When I started hunting in areas where I could not use a gun, it was the cheapest way to, hunt with
get into it.
Archery equipment. Yeah.
100%.
And but I was talking with someone a couple weeks ago, and I think this is what some of the guys that we've had on the podcast in the past have gotten at, but I don't think they voiced it as clearly as my brother-in-law did, is who I was talking to. But he made a point, and I agree with it. I don't think that they should go in the record books. Like if you kill a record buck with a crossbow, I think it should have its own classification. It shouldn't go in there with compound bows and
I agree.
Primitive equipment or whatever. And I really don't know how the primitive versus compound is set up right now. If you kill like a record buck, is it all considered archery, or is there a primitive division, compound?
Now that you say that, I don't know. Because all I hear is archery and but it could be that because nobody's shooting.
Could be
traditional.
But I can get on board with that. Or like if you kill a record buck with a crossbow, I can see the resentment that people might have about that going in the record book with archery, because it's going against guys that are shooting compound bows.
And let me preface my opinion. My opinion comes solely from if like you said, it's the cheapest route, great, run it. But my experience with people that shoot crossbows and the people that I've met and talked to is people that can shoot a bow, can afford a bow, but don't want to practice. That is the main people that I've met.
Yeah.
And so that's where the hatred comes from. I mean, if you're gonna go kill a deer, you should go practice, and you should be efficient enough to go shoot it with a bow.
Well, to what I enjoy, one of the things that I enjoy about hunting though is like finding the next thing to do that is challenging.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I think you're going to lose. I think you're going to lose something as far as your experience hunting if you're constantly slaying deer with a crossbow or whatever. Heck, if you're doing it with a compound bow and you're just stacking them.
At some point, you're going to go want to hunt something else.
Yeah, or start using traditional equipment or something else.
Exactly.
Look for the next challenge. But anyway, and the other thing, I guess one of the reasons that I really feel like I want to be vocal on that is because I firmly believe that there are more guys that are in favor of the crossbow than they let on. I think it's like being a Democrat in the South. You got to be quiet about it. And hey, I was at the archery shop this morning, and what I'm about to say, I think backs up my opinion on this. Yeah. He said that he had been working on more crossbows this year than he had regular bows, and I believe it because when I was shooting, I was walking to get my arrow, and I saw a bunch of crossbows laid out
stacked up
that he was
all
working
the way
on.
down the shooting line.
Yes, and anyway, so with that being said,
whether it's a good thing or bad thing,
I will. I don't know. I'll own it, I guess, for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I give them crap, but
yeah,
there's really nothing wrong with it. But I will say, if you say you shot a buck with a bow, it better be a bow. Yeah. You cannot say, "Oh man, I killed a 150 with my bow the other day."
Yeah,
and it'd be a 100-yard crossbow shot.
Yeah. Now, hey. That's another thing. We've talked about this before on here, but that's another thing. I think there's a big misconception about
how far you can shoot.
About how far you can shoot with these crossbows. Now, I know that you can get, like, Raven, isn't that a big crossbow brand?
Yeah, Ravens will shoot 150 yards.
I don't have any experience with Ravens other than a guy at a bow shop trying to sell me one time. And anyway, the crossbow that I've used in the past was a Barnett. It was like $250 pre-inflation, pre-Biden inflation.
Yeah.
And loud as all get out. And really, I wouldn't feel comfortable shooting past 30, 35 yards with it.
Really?
Yes.
See, I did not know that.
Before you leave, you need to listen to it being shot. It is loud as a son of a gun.
I'd like to shoot it.
And anyway, so you're not shooting 100 yards with this thing.
Yeah.
And
well, see, that's better.
And really, you're not going to shoot. I feel more comfortable taking a shot like at 60 yards with my bow than I would that crossbow.
Yeah. But also, get a crossbow that's the same value as that Bowtech. And I wonder what.
Oh, that's where you get into the Ravens, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's that.
Yeah.
Then you're shooting.
But the reason I say that, though, is I heard one guy, this was recently, and I forget where it was, but somebody said something about how crossbows are just unfair. And he said that his buddy or somebody had a old recurve style crossbow, and it was shooting like 120 yards. And I'm not the type of guy that's just going to call bull crap. Like, if you say something like that, I'm just going to shake my head and be like, okay.
Get in your truck and call me.
And then I'm never going to believe anything else you say. And that's kind of where I was at with that. Like, I don't see an old recurve style crossbow shooting 120 yards.
Not accurately.
Yeah, and it might have been a YouTube video.
I
I saw
doubt
that.
that far.
I doubt it.
I mean, I can't shoot past 70. I mean, I probably could, but not accurately.
Yeah.
But
well, when I said 60 yards, like, that doesn't mean I feel like I can shoot a deer at 60 yards.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do want to try sometime, though. Like,
I definitely do.
Have you seen that video of Sequan where Lee was 60 yards away and he just drills that buck that's feeding?
No.
I think it's the one where he's in Tennessee, and he's set up this ground blind. And earlier in the day, people have come and, like, mowed grass around this house.
I did see that one. And he's just stayed in there while they were mowing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they left, and the deer comes out, and he doesn't come closer. He's just peeling around the edge of the field, and he decides to take like a 60-yard shot, drills him.
Yeah.
And the deer doesn't even flinch, though.
Which
was interesting.
I think it, and I saw that, and I thought the same thing, but I think it's because the urban. I mean, the deer was watching them mow grass all day.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that he heard the buzzing of the air and just didn't think anything about it?
I don't know. I think there's two things, or at least this is what's coming to my mind, immediately. I think there's two ways you could go about it. I think the deer aren't as pressured as they are here in South Alabama.
Yeah.
And where he was hunting in Tennessee, they're not going to jump at every little thing that, makes a noise.
Yeah.
I think that is part of it, or, one thing. But then the other, I've heard people talk about how they would much rather shoot past 40 yards on a whitetail because they don't hear the thud of the bow going off.
Yeah.
And it's less noise to spook them immediately.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Did that make
sense?
sense?
So. Yeah. I think so.
Farther away, they can't hear the bow go,
So all they hear is air.
Right.
So like 40 or 35 through 55 or 60.
Yeah.
I wouldn't shoot.
No.
I do want to shoot one at 40 though, but I think he's going to duck it.
Try it.
Oh, I am. First weekend.
Hey, speaking of that, first weekend, I want to see. Well, I don't know if we could have any kind of role in it, but what I would love to see happen is a bunch of people contact the state for a velvet season here in Alabama.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Which I had all my shooter bucks last year had velvet at first. Now it was like the first 2 weeks, and then they dropped it.
Like bow season was in?
Yeah. The first week of bow season, my bucks had velvet.
Were they still on that summertime pattern?
Yeah.
Wow. Why didn't you shoot one?
Because I passed. There was a shooter. I had 3 bucks on my hit list last year.
And if you'd been shooting a crossbow, you could have got one of them.
No, I couldn't have. You should listen to my story.
Okay, go ahead.
There was a 6 point, an 8 point, and a 9 point. And I was wanting a 9, of course, and I got greedy. And I ran over there one afternoon after work, and the 6 and the 8 sat there for 45 minutes eating my corn. Just walking through the woods eating the corn. I had it scattered out.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's cheating corn.
Stuff's good. And but anyway, I passed on both of them. Both of them at 15 yards. I passed both of them waiting for the 9 point, and he walked out 5 minutes after shooting light. And I never saw him again.
And they were in velvet?
Yes.
I'm sorry. If it was in velvet, I'd have had to shoot it.
Well, all right, so you have a 6 point in front of you, and you know there's a 9 point probably going to come.
But you're leaving out a 6 point in velvet.
There's going to be a 9 point in velvet.
You don't know. All right, I will say this.
With cell cams,
what about the last minute of legal light?
Oh, if the 6 point's there, I'm shooting it.
You didn't have a shot at that point?
No, he was gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I got you. I'm with you. Well, in that case, I agree with you then. You thought there was a good chance.
I played the gamble, and I did not win.
Got you. Well, do you think they'll still have their velvet and hold on to it late
this year? I have no idea. I had no idea last year. I mean, it was just that I saw them. I mean, they were dropping it, but it was still there.
The properties where I've hunted, this is private property pieces.
Yeah.
It's like the last week is when typically I've seen the velvet come off, because I'll watch them during the summer and I'll be thinking, man, I hope I get a shot at one of them, while they're still in velvet the first week of archery season. And it's like, you think it's going to happen, and then it's all of a sudden they show up and they're hard horn and
You get ready for the first morning and they're all
yes. It's like if you just held on to it another week.
You're tripping over velvet walking to your stand.
Probably. Have you ever shed hunted?
No. Well, no. Not legit.
Have you ever tried to find one? What do you mean by not legit?
Like, I'm turkey hunting and the turkey hunting's bad, so I'm like, well, I'll just look for sheds.
And you ever found one?
No.
I searched for sheds this past deer season when it went out, and I don't know how many miles I put in. but I did a lot of walking trying to find some sheds, and I'm almost convinced that they swallow their antlers or something because I can't find them anywhere. I've come to the conclusion some people can find them.
I found one last weekend about that big on the ground
Where?
at my farm, and just in the woods. I
mean, like, what was the habitat? Like, where?
Oh, it was down the creek bottom.
Creek bottom.
And I was just walking through. Cause I was on the tractor, and I said, I'm gonna just get off and see if I can't find a shed, just because I was curious.
And you just walked up on it?
I walked up. It was 10 yards off the road on the creek bottom. That's the only one I've ever found.
Was it chewed up or anything?
Yeah, bad. But in March, in March, the time that you're supposed to be looking for them?
I don't think around here. The reason I say that is for 2 or 3 years, I've been watching cameras and watching does, and there's a piece of property, 100% fact. I know for a fact there are does that come in heat in the middle of March, and the bucks are hard horn chasing them around. I have it on camera.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I walked the place. I walked my entire place in March and didn't find one.
I forget. I was talking with someone, and he's had luck finding sheds here in the South. I forget the time frame that he told me. I want to think he was said like the beginning of May is when he starts looking, because they're definitely gone by then.
Yeah, I definitely want to try it.
But I don't know. I'm kind of to the point where I think they lose them, and squirrels or whatever it is gets them before anybody can find them, and or they lose them in such thick stuff that you can't get to it. And if you don't step on top of it, you're not going to see it.
I agree.
That's kind of where I've came on it. But if anybody disagrees with me on that, I would love to know how to find some sheds. So feel free to correct me.
I would love for somebody to give me a date to go look for sheds.
Yes. And I taught the same guy. It was Dustin King. He gave me the idea of like walking fence rows where they jump the fence, and that vibration knocks the horns off. I thought that's a great idea. Sense. I never thought about it. I never thought about that.
I never would have thought about that either. Which it's hard to get me out there in the woods in the middle of the summer.
Really?
Oh, yeah. In May?
Yeah.
After turkey season? I'm done. I want to be in the water. The past July is when I start getting wrapped up.
So I get heavy into deer season after July 4th.
Yeah.
And the past couple of years, it's been a few days before then. But like, it's kind of I don't know. In the past, I've stayed out of the woods during the summer because everything changes. Whatever you find, everything changes by the time archery season comes in, and like their summer patterns and all.
Yeah.
Or like they shift. And snakes, I'm scared to death of snakes.
Yeah, that's another reason not to be in there in the summer.
Right. And that's kind of why I've avoided it. But like the past 2 or 3 years, I've been so gung-ho about it that I just go in there and I walk slow as smoke. Unless I'm with somebody. Now, if I'm with somebody, if they're barreling through in the summer, I'll barrel through right behind them. I guess I have in my mind that the snake's going to bite them first. But anyway, for some reason, it doesn't bother me as bad if I'm with somebody. Yeah. But if I'm by myself, I will be looking so close.
Yeah.
And anyway, it hasn't bothered me as bad past couple years. So I've been doing a lot of summer scouting.
Did you pull your stands down last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't always do that, though.
You don't? Okay. I forgot to pull one of my lock-ons down.
Oh, there was one lock-on that it stayed up. I know 3 years. And I took it down last year at the end of deer season.
I'm going to just check the straps.
That's what I always did, was check the straps. And it had one of those lifelines tied to it, too. And anyway, that was why I really went in there and took the stand down, because that lifeline had kind of gotten to the end of its life. Yeah. Or at least what I felt was safe.
Yeah.
And I took the whole thing down.
I won't get a lock on without a lifeline.
So last year, I saw where Sportsman's Guide was having a sale on some tree stands at the end of deer season. Mm-hmm. And I've never had like what I'm going to call a luxury tree stand because I'm poor. I've always gotten like the $50 lock-ons from Sportsman's Guide. And Anyway, but they had a sale on it, and I thought, I'm going to splurge. I'm going to get this tree stand. I didn't realize I was getting, it was a Millennium, by the way, and I forget the exact model, but I didn't realize it was the XL. And when it came, I got it out of the box, and I looked, I was like, this thing is massive.
100 pounds.
It was light, actually.
Really?
It was very light. It was aluminum, and I was very surprised at how light it was. It comes with backpack straps on it, so like you can,
walk it up the tree.
wear it into the woods, or I guess walk it up the tree too. And anyway, it comes with that little bracket that you mount the bracket to the tree, and then you can just slide the.
I like that.
And anyway, so it's going in one of my permanent spots.
Yeah.
And I am looking forward to using that thing.
I bet.
I've never sat in one of those nice ones like that.
I'm dedicating this year to killing a deer out of my saddle. I didn't get to do it last year. But
How long have you had the saddle?
last year was my first year.
Gotcha.
You actually were the reason I got it.
That is right. When you were in school, I tried to tell you about it, and you didn't want any part of it.
Yeah.
Ain't I right?
Yeah, 100%. And I got one. Yeah, you're the reason I got one for sure. You and my brother-in-law.
What kind did you get?
I got the Amazon saddle. Yeah, I can't remember what it's
Hog
called.
Helium?
No,
Was it that?
it's worse than that. It's like I Hunt or something like that. I mean, it's straight Amazon.
Hunt?
I think it is.
Those poor Chinese kids that made this thing. You supporting child labor in China.
100%. 100%. It was $80.
I don't see nothing wrong with it.
And I built my own ropes. And
Yeah.
Mama gave me one of those Ascenders for Christmas, so that was sweet.
Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with it because
As light as I am, it doesn't really matter.
there you go.
If I was 300 pounds, definitely get a name brand.
Is it comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more comfortable than my climber.
Adjustability on it. Can you adjust the bridge on it and stuff? Or is it a
but
fixed
very
bridge?
poorly. I fixed it because I didn't like the.
Gotcha. So tell me your system. Tell me your whole mobile hunting system that you
I have 4 muddy pro sticks, I think they're what they're called, with the and you actually showed it to me. They're
those. Not the ones with the orange sticker, but
the ones right here on the right.
Wait, no, those aren't muddy. I'm sorry. Those are trophy line. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I almost got the muddy sticks. My bad.
They have the what's the little locking mechanism you have on your one stick?
Is it a cam cleat? Is that
Yes.
what it's called?
Yeah, they have cam cleats on them, all 4 of them. So do that up the tree, and then I made my own ropes, and and I hunt off the stick. I'm gonna get a platform this year though.
You got to get a platform.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I'm about to say that hurts your feet. I had to do that one time, and my
It
feet
wasn't bad.
were really.
I didn't think it was. I had to wear. You have to wear cowboy boots though. You cannot wear light boots or anything.
I was wearing my snake boots. I wear my snake boots year round.
Really?
If I'm hunting or in the woods.
I didn't. It was not bad, but
I couldn't
I'm
be
definitely
still.
gonna get.
I couldn't be still when
Yeah.
I was doing it without a platform.
Do you have knee pads?
Yes.
I think I'm gonna get some.
I think you need it in order to,
Sit on the tree.
yeah. That way you can kind of sit back in your saddle and you can put your knees against the tree.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the have-to things.
Yeah.
Or either get one of those cushions to go around the tree.
Yeah.
The trophy line platform, I would 100% recommend that over the Predator platform.
From yeah. Is that Predator's the tethered one, ain't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
That one
forget.
looks a lot bigger than the tethered one.
Yes. Yes. The tethered one.
Oh, you have a tethered one.
I do. The tethered one, I can't even think. Predator platform.
Yeah.
It is just big enough where, like, if you wanted to stand up, you can do that comfortably.
Yeah.
Against a tree, especially, our size.
Yeah.
But like turning around, like say you were wanting to do one of those shots where like the deer is coming in from behind you, and you want to do that thing where you tuck your arm under the tether and
Yeah.
you're
You couldn't do it quickly.
right, and it's I don't know. I just don't feel like I have a lot of room for error on that.
Yeah.
And anyway, I got the trophy line. I forget what they call their platform like that, but it bites to the tree a lot better than the Predator platform did in my experience, and it was solid as a rock. I don't really notice a big weight difference, and obviously a lot better, bigger platform. I mean,
I think I like the thing I like about the Predator platform is how small it is. Honestly.
yeah, it has its. I mean, it's not all downsized, to
Yeah.
being small like that.
But you didn't notice anything on like packing it in? How like was it any worse?
No.
Did you one stick any last year?
Oh yeah. Past couple years, I've one stick. I think it's been a couple years. When I started out, I had those trophy line Novix sticks. I think is what they're.
Yeah.
I had those, and it comes with 4 sticks, but I think I was only using 3 because I had 8ers on them.
Oh wow.
That way I didn't have to. I could shave a little bit of weight from that last stick, and anyway, that was what I ran the first time. And then I had the Predator platform, and it worked okay. But honestly, like I figured out that I hated toting stuff into the woods. It's like I figured out quickly that I'm one of those that I want to take the least amount of stuff possible.
Yeah.
So I went to the one stick. There it is. I forgot I had it hanging up. And what I did was I took one of my trophy line Novix sticks.
Yeah.
And I took the top step off, and I bought that platform from Eastern Woods Outdoors, and screwed it in, put the cam cleat on there, and anyway, I've got an 8er, and that's what I'm one sticking with.
Yeah, I like that. I actually one sticked with the Muddy last year, just how it is. Mm-hmm. It was terrible.
Now that one right there, the platform, the one sticking platform, there is no turning around on that.
Yeah, I bet that's out of the
If you're going to take a shot behind you, you're just going to be doing a lot of leaning and swinging. So that's downside. What I've kind of toyed with the idea I've toyed with this year is using a one stick with just a regular stick and an 8er, and then still take my platform.
I think that's probably the way to go.
I think so too. That's what I'm going to do this year, and I think it'd be worth it.
Yeah, I'm going to put some emphasis on saddle hunting this year. I hunted out of my lock-on most of the time.
It's fun. And you weren't the only one, though, that I was trying to get to saddle hunt, and they're like, heck no. Were you the one that was saying that is sketchy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought 100%. You were. But there was a lot of people that were telling me that is sketchy.
But it's not.
Especially when I tell them about one stick and 2 on top of it. They're like, heck no.
No, it was me and my brother-in-law at Buckboard that night that you were showing us the one stick. And we were both saying, no, that's sketchy.
I vaguely remember this.
It was after you performed. Uh-huh. But, I mean, the more and more you think about it, saddle hunting is the safest, arguably the safest thing to do if you're going to hunt out of a tree stand. Mm-hmm. Besides
because you're always connected to the tree.
You're either...
If you do it right.
Yeah, you either have one tethered to the tree or 2. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, after I got that in my head, and like a climber, you will never catch me in a climber again.
Nothing against the climbers. It's just, for me, why would I tote a heavy climber that's going to make some noise when I could tote a couple sticks or a stick and a platform?
Yeah, not to mention they scare me to death. And
climbers?
I've hunted out of a climber since I was 12. But after saddle hunting, just the thought of you're never really strapped in.
Yeah.
Besides, I mean, the tether once you get up there, but
I guess the proper way to do that, you're supposed to move your tether as you move up in your climber, but I don't really know if anybody does that.
I don't know one person that actually does that.
No.
I always climbed up and then did my tether when I get up there.
Especially the times where like you're climbing and that foot part slips as you're sitting back and letting the top part like really bite into the tree. Yeah. And then for whatever reason, the foot part just slides down the tree. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, 100%. When I first started climbing, I was probably 14, 15. And I was messing around with it in my backyard, and I climbed up an oak tree. Had no idea. Nobody told me I shouldn't do that. And I was sitting in there for a solid 20 minutes just sitting there getting comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I started sliding down that tree quickly and learned very quickly you cannot go up in an oak tree.
Yeah. It's hard for it to bite. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, I didn't like the pine trees either because they were
There's so much bark.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I'm poor, so I was using one of the Academy.
Whatever. Don't even. Don't even.
We're all poor.
Always buying boats and fixing them up and just making money off of them.
Yeah.
Buying 2 bows at a time.
Well, I got a deal.
Okay. I wish the third would have been free. I'd like to get in on that deal.
I would have called you. You'd have been my third call.
Okay.
Maybe. I probably would have if you sold that crossbow.
I'm not getting rid of my crossbow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of climbers though, and like the one stick and stuff, there is a new climber for saddle hunting. Have you seen it?
Yeah. It's kind of like a climber. It's the bottom half of a climber, ain't it?
Yeah. You climb. Basically, you climb the tree like you would with a climber, but you're quote unquote one sticking. So like you're using your tether to hold you to the tree, and as you're doing that, you're picking your feet up and inching up the tree that way. I don't know. It seems really cool if you have a tree that doesn't have any limbs poking out, but I feel like the odds of finding a tree without limbs is going to be kind of low at times if you're hunting in good places.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I
like
wouldn't want to climb with it and have to go around limbs.
And I feel like that's one of the reasons people saddle hunt is so you can get in the trees with a lot of limbs. That's one. I mean, when I'm going through the woods, I'm trying to find a limby tree to get in rather than a tall, skinny, no limb pine tree.
Last year, I climbed a tree that it was the first time doing so, but it was split. It was an oak tree that kind of forked.
Yeah.
And that was the coolest little thing because I felt so concealed in that thing. And I don't know, probably didn't make a bit of difference, but it made me feel like I was concealed a lot more. And anyway, it was very convenient. I could hang my backpack over here on this tree trunk, and it was out of the way. And
was that on public or on?
It was on private.
Private.
I didn't do any. Did I? No, I didn't do any public land hunting last year, but I've been scouting it for a couple years. This is going to be the first year that I actually hunted.
I really want to attack. I want to get on public land this year.
You're going to go with me.
I'll go.
You're going to go with
100%.
me. As long as you don't, because I know the area, but I don't know the spot.
Yeah.
So, I want to put in some man days.
Yeah.
And figure out, I guess, the spot within the spot. And
I need to read the rules because there's a bunch of rules out there.
Oh, you got to follow the rules out there?
Yeah. Don't bring your corn.
I'm kidding. Yeah, you're right. Mock scrapes, that's the way to go on public land and on private land. I've been, which we talked about this on a podcast a couple episodes ago, but I've been doing that a lot past couple years. And this year, I've relied on that heavily.
Was it you talking about the overly big?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Going in there making the scrape, like when you expose the dirt, be obnoxious with it, like the size of a car hood.
Yeah.
And because then those deer are going to be curious. They're going to come check it out, and then they're going to be there in that licking branch. And that's the other thing that I've figured out and found is to clear when you make your licking branch, chest height, clear out everything else around it, so that when they're walking that deer trail, because ideally you want it on a deer trail, or like where they all intersect or something. When they're coming, and they're going to see that scrape on the ground. And then when they look up and see that licking branch, it's right there. They have to hit it.
There's nothing else.
And there's nothing else for them to hit.
Yeah.
And,
I'm going to try that on my farm this year.
Do it.
I'm going to try that.
I don't think it really matters if you put scent out. There's some pre-orbital stuff that I'll put out on it.
That's what I was going to ask.
But I don't really think it matters, honestly. I really think that you could just do the scrape, the dirt part, and maybe take like a knife or something and scratch up the licking branch to expose the moisture in the bark or whatever I'm trying to say, the stems.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be enough for those deer to come and check it out, maybe chew on that limb or lick it.
Yeah.
And once you get one deer doing it, the rest are going to come and keep it going.
Yeah. Is it just only bucks that you have doing it, or is it more
No,
does?
typically when I do it, it's going to start out being does
Yeah.
and small bucks. But then after that, you'll start seeing some better bucks show up. When we get done recording, I'll show you some pictures that I got of some bucks
All right.
on public land coming into it.
I want to see them. I want to go hunt public bad. And I've been tackling something new this year in planting, and I'm very excited to see how that turns out.
You're in the land management stuff now?
I'm in land management stuff. I'm gonna buy me a skid steer, start mulching, I guess.
See, that's what I'm saying. You can't hide big money. You can't hide it.
The bank's got money now.
They just let you borrow it?
Yeah. You gotta have a good friendship with them.
Yeah.
But no.
So what are you doing? Walk me through it.
Planting clover. Well, first of all, kudzu is absolutely taking over our place.
It's kind of good, ain't it?
And good and bad, mostly bad though. I mean, it's just too you can't.
It's very invasive.
Super invasive. So, one side of our road, I spent a full day bush hogging, just taking away all the kudzu and all the underbrush.
Mm-hmm.
Got it cleaned, and I've been disking for weeks now, but I'm gonna plant clover and oats, and I'm throwing topsoil weed out there for doves right now, but I'm gonna plant clover and turnips and oats here in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna see how it turns out.
Gotcha.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
But it's right there on the edge of the. So like, there's gonna be kudzu, and then all the other stuff in the field. So we'll see what happens.
So I don't know anything really about the land management stuff and like the best things to plant and when is the season for this stuff. So the clover, how long does that last?
I don't think too long, because everybody was telling me if you're gonna gun hunt it, if you're planting it like for gun season, you need to wait till like middle of bow season to plant it. But if you want it there for bow season, then you need to go ahead and plant it in September. So like, if I want to bow hunt over it, so I don't care what it does in December. I'm not gonna be hunting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna plant it in September, and then it'll be ready by bow season, and we're gonna see what happens.
I've seen stuff online where people will do that with sunflowers. They throw sunflowers out, and the idea behind it is when bow season is in, the deer are just finding it and it's real tender, and they're wanting to come to that food source.
Yep.
But I've always wanted to try that, but I've never really had any land that I could really try it out on.
Can you plant in the national forest?
I don't know, because I know you can't throw corn out, of course, but like I have wondered, because like a bag of oats.
We need to check on this, because this might be good. We'll just have us a little food plot out there.
Now, I don't know if you can plant food plot, but like, I would highly doubt, obviously, that you could plant a food plot. But like, I have wondered, like, throwing out a few handful of oats.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've wondered about it. I don't know if that's breaking any rules or not.
And
Maybe somebody can comment and tell us.
If you get some of the topsoil stuff, like that clover and turnips I'm talking about, it's just broadcasted over the dirt.
Yeah.
It needs like a half an inch to grow.
Uh-huh. Well, shoot, oats will sprout in the back of my truck.
Exactly. So what I'm saying, like, if you bring a bag out there and toss it out and it grows, they're going to come to it.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I'm gonna look up the legal.
I feel like
aspects of that.
I feel like the most obvious answer would be no, that you can't do that, because you're not even supposed to cut any branches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
On public land, but at the same time, they say it's okay to make a mock scrape. I do know that for a fact. So,
with the scent, or you can't use the scent either.
I haven't seen anything on the scent.
Do you?
I haven't seen any rules against the scent. I have used scent on the ones on public land.
Yeah. I think there's less pressure on public land than there is clubs and all sorts of.
I will
stuff.
absolutely, 100% agree with you on that, because there was a club that I was in, and I had luck on the club, but I 100% believed that there was more pressure on that club than there was in public land.
10,000%.
And public land is free.
Oh yeah.
Well, technically.
Go to the national forest and start walking through the woods, and it's going to be a long time before you
Yes.
meet another fella.
And I forget how many acres that club had, but it was 11 members. In which, here's the thing that I figured out about club, which I like being a part of the club. Don't get me wrong. I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing the club, but I got to see the good parts of it, and I got to see the negative parts of it. And it was the first one that I was in, so I enjoyed it. But however many acres they had, it was, I want to say that it was just under 800, but I could be wrong. But let's just say 800.
Yeah.
11 members. Okay, 11 members kind of sounds like a lot, because I think like the ideal that I heard one time is one member per 100 acres. Like, so you're not on top of one another. But 11 members to me didn't sound all that bad, because I'm thinking, okay, but they're not all going to be there at the same time. You got some of them that's not going to come until rut, stuff like that. But what I did not account for was like the member that has 3 sons that's hunting with him every weekend.
Yep.
And anyway, I'm not going to go into all the stuff that I experienced.
Well, there's a lot of politics.
But I didn't run into the politic issue. It was, I will say this, like when somebody's following you around on the hunting club.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That just got on my nerves.
That's a problem.
And anyway, I enjoyed the hunting club. I don't want to sound like I did not, because I did.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be against getting back in one day when it's appropriate. But
well, going back towards
it is definitely pressured.
Yeah, going back towards national forest versus club, you also in that club say there's 4 members for 400 acres. Y'all are probably bouncing around the same spots.
Yeah.
And so they're getting hunted way more than the national forest is.
And 2, depending on what your club looks like and the layout, the shape of your boundary lines, there's going to be areas where like everybody is right there and you're on top of each other.
Yeah. And
that's one of the things that happened on this club, is there was an area where like a bunch of people were wanting to congregate in this. Anyway.
There's always a number one spot.
Yes.
With everything.
But man, there was a clear cut on that hunting club, and I still wish I had access to that.
Yeah.
I loved hunting that clear cut.
The only way I want to get another club, but I really want to do it out of state. I would love to go to like South Georgia.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or Arkansas. Arkansas would be a great place to have a club.
Me and Jansen are planning on hunting in Arkansas this year. I'm going to go ahead and say this on the podcast. That way Jansen has to follow through with it.
Cannot back out.
But I want to do that. I want to go somewhere and hunt besides South Alabama and see the differences, if there are any differences in like the way the deer act and stuff. Anyway, and plus I hear that the deer are a lot bigger in Arkansas, in northern Arkansas anyway,
100%.
than here in South Alabama.
100%. Anywhere other than South Alabama, they're big.
And I will say a 120 is a 120, no matter where you're at.
Yeah, still big. Still big. I'll take whatever. No, the deer in Arkansas are, I mean, they're shockingly big. But Arkansas never gets talked about as one of the big deer hunting states.
You think it will in years to come? Like because I feel like people are constantly looking for the next place that's going to have big deer. And I think one of the things that they're probably looking for in that is like what has the potential or the big deer, but is also overlooked at the moment and not as pressured.
Yeah. Because when you say Iowa is not talked about as much as it was 3 years ago,
yeah,
I feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. And now Missouri, is that where a lot of people are?
Yeah,
that's Fantasyland state.
That's the neighboring property, Arkansas on the north side.
Pennsylvania, is that the state that is like not known for good or big deer? Is that?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything out of Pennsylvania.
I don't know why I want to say that like people from Pennsylvania are like.
No, there's got to be big deer. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's big deer in Pennsylvania.
You reckon it's big deer to our standards though?
Yeah, probably. Well, the only reason I say that is because Levi Morgan lives in Pennsylvania.
Gotcha.
Okay. And I've seen stuff.
I don't know why I had that in my mind.
I don't know though. I mean, you could be correct, and I could be totally wrong.
I don't know.
But like Michigan has big deer.
Yeah.
Iowa. Everywhere up there does.
I really believe if you are a good hunter in South Alabama. What? What?
Go ahead. No. You're about to ruffle some feathers.
I don't think you would have a big problem killing deer in some other states. if you could do it. What? You don't agree with me?
Basically, if you can't kill another deer in another state, you suck. That's basically what you're saying.
That's not what I said. You took it to the whole extreme.
I did.
You took it to an extreme.
I did. But
do you think Alabama's one of the tougher states to hunt?
No. Deer hunt?
Yes. No. Why? Expand.
I think we have basically everybody here does the same thing. So if you can,
you got to keep in mind we only have like 4 listeners, and they're all from South Alabama, so they're going to agree with us anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's very easy but everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody down here hunts the same exact way. So if you can do something a little different, do something to get the deer over your property, whatever you got to do, I feel like you can do it. Whether that's go hunt public land where nobody's hunting, because the public land in Arkansas is wrapped up with deer hunting.
Here's what I think about though is like here in the South. Here's the biggest comparison. All right, in the Midwest, where like it's a lot of farm country, a lot of open field farm countries. Yeah. Okay, it's going to be really easy to find. I think. Disclaimer: I have never hunted the Midwest. Okay, I'm a YouTube expert.
He watches Sequel a lot.
And like from what I can tell, I agree with the people that say like that have been there and they point this out or they make this comparison, and I tend to agree with them. Is that like a lot of farm fields there, and cover is the limiting factor. Like that's your scarce resource.
Yeah.
And if you can zero in on the cover, majority of your deer are passing through there because that's
good point.
All right. Whereas here in South Alabama, we're not hurting for cover.
Yeah, there's 90,000 acres of it down.
Exactly. And like you have to look for the diverse areas here on public land or in South Alabama because we have cover. I don't want to say everywhere because, obviously that's extreme. But
so say we were from.
They can bed anywhere is what I'm saying. Like the Dan Infault stuff, I think that would be great. And I would love to be able to take the Dan Infault style of hunting and hunt over the beds. But like the MSU Deer Lab study, they showed where like the buck had so many different beds throughout this course of time.
Yeah.
And if basically what I'm saying is here in the South, I don't think you can pattern a buck that well based off where they're bedding. And that's just an example. They can bed anywhere. Cover is not a limiting factor.
So you think if you lived in Mississippi, or we'll say Mississippi, you could go kill a buck in Arkansas easier than you could in Alabama?
Wait, say that again.
If you lived in Mississippi. So,
yeah,
like here, obviously I think I can go kill a buck easier here than in a different state. I mean, obviously. But if you lived in Mississippi and you were hunting Alabama versus a farm state, Arkansas, Missouri, out west, you think you can kill one out west easier?
Out west, yes.
You have a good point. You have a very good point.
I really now I could do it and I could just get it socked to me, but I really do think like in some of those Midwestern states, like the terrain that I'm describing, I would feel confident. If you, I don't know, I would feel confident going and scouting, trying to find what the deer are doing and hunting, because I feel like cover is the scarce resource and it would be easy to zero in on that.
Yeah.
Just like here, if like right now we're going through a drought.
Yeah.
Well, I say that we just had some rain, but
for the last month it hadn't rained, and you said that the day after it rains.
When I looked at my Onyx, it was like I saw our drought status or whatever, and the next day it rained. So anyway, that's why I was thinking that. But like if water is the limiting factor, if you know that this beaver pond down here is dried up,
Yeah.
and their water source, is gone that they've used in this area. Well, they still need water,
They're gonna go.
so
find it.
they're gonna go to that scarce resource. So find the next, nearest water source.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think you could definitely. I mean, and I've also heard of people. I mean, they'll use a tractor to go get in their stand,
Yeah,
and those kind of stories.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think you're onto something, but still, to say that's a bold claim. Though. that's where it got me.
and look, I if I'm wrong, I will say it. Like if I would love to get the opportunity to go out of state and like one of those Midwestern places and hunt.
Yeah.
I would love it. And if I got my butt kicked, I would admit it and just say like I was totally wrong.
Yeah.
I just need to stay here in Alabama. But like, think about this also: the hunting public guys, they are jam up hunters.
Yeah.
I would have nothing bad to say about the way they hunt, but the videos, and I really don't know if more than one, where they've come to Alabama, they struggled.
Really?
You didn't see this?
No, I did not.
Their style of hunting, they struggled. I don't think I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this because it's been a while since I saw the video. But they were hunting on public land in Alabama, and of course they didn't say where. But I remember Zach, and we're talking about the guy that crawled up to a deer in bow range and shot the thing and killed it and recovered it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, awesome hunter. Nobody would dispute that, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I don't think they saw a deer. And the only deer sighting that they had in this episode was they had joined up with Catman.
Yeah.
I forget his real name, but anyway, and I don't know if he's from Alabama or not.
I'm not sure.
Catman, but anyway, you could tell he was more accustomed to hunting in habitat like we have here, and he was on deer.
You might be onto something. But, so, what do you think the easiest deer hunting is?
High fence for sure. Look, I don't want to sound. I want to make sure I say this. I don't want to sound like a Brad or conceited or anything like that.
Sound conceited or Brad.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to sound like that. I don't think it's as easy to pattern deer here as it is in some of those Midwestern states. That's the biggest thing they're getting to. And
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
because, like, for example, there's a buck that I am trying to zero in on, and I want to hunt as soon as archery season opens up. And I went through a period where I was all over him. Haven't seen him for a long time. And he shouldn't have shifted at this point. As far as like summer area to a fall area or whatever. So like there again, there's so much cover. I don't know.
I think
it's hard to zero in on them.
Yeah,
there's so many places that they can go,
and there's so much food also.
Yes, that's what when I was getting silent. That's what I was thinking about too. Is there's so much food, so many places they can go, and in this area that I'm thinking about, he's not hurting for water. And anyway.
Definitely not hurting for corn. Everywhere he goes, he has corn in front of his
I
face.
haven't put out corn for him. I have not. Now, some of the private land people probably.
Oh, well, probably 100%.
I hope the private land people are doing that because I would love to cut him off.
Between them?
Yes. Yes.
Between the water source and the food?
Yeah. Man, I really do hope I don't sound like a jerk when I said that, but
no,
but
I probably, if anything, I made you sound like a jerk by over.
I also talked with somebody that went to one of the states. I forget which one he said that he was in, but he said that it was like a 3-day hunt. First day he was there, this buck comes by, and he's like, first day, I don't really want to go ahead and shoot this buck. Like, I could see something bigger. Nice buck, but I could see something bigger. It's the first day. Like, I'm just going to wait. And every day that he hunted in that 3 days, I think he ended up shooting the buck. I think. But every day that he hunted, same time, same trail, the deer was doing the same exact thing. I don't think we experienced that.
No.
Now we might have certain deer where their personalities, you know.
You can get an educated guess on when they'll be.
Yeah,
there.
but I think that is out of the normal for us.
I do not think I've seen a buck 3 days in a row.
No.
Anywhere
Keep
I've
talking.
gone.
I'm gonna check this camera and make sure it's still going. Yeah.
But I mean, I do agree with you on.
We got 8 minutes left.
Oh wow.
Of course, if we go further, that one will pick up, and I'll just
Okay.
cut whatever. But anyway, but yeah, those are just some things that I've heard.
I would like
You
to
know,
go try it.
I would love to go try it. And
I really want to go to Arkansas and try it on public land.
and if yes, that's what we want to do. And anyway, and like I said, if I did it and I got my butt kicked, I would eat crow.
I don't think you would. I mean, like I told you the other day, we were in a boat race in Arkansas duck hunting and kicked up an 8-pointer in the creek that we were running.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's deer all over the place out there, and big ones too.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got it.
But now, places like Arkansas, Mississippi, like you said, I don't know about Arkansas, and I really don't know about Mississippi again because I've only hunted Alabama. But I would think like those states would be more in line with what I'm saying Alabama is.
Arkansas would be more of the farmland type.
It would. See, like I don't know what the deer pressure is in northern Arkansas.
And see, here's the problem because Arkansas has everything. They have mountains, they have farmland like North Dakota, they have trees like Alabama.
Yeah.
They have everything. So it's kind of hard to say.
Okay,
But-
so when I was looking at the licenses for Arkansas, I saw where you could get an elk license.
Yeah,
Arkansas has elk.
on the west side, northwest. That's what I'm saying. They have everything.
I would.
If you go to the south part of Arkansas, it'll look like Louisiana. If you go on the east side, it's going to be hardwoods and timber.
Wow. Okay.
And at 2 hours from the state line on the east side is the farmland starts. And then when the west side's all mountains.
Wow. Okay. I did not realize it was that diverse.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, it's the natural state for a reason. They got everything. Bears, elk.
I would kill for an opportunity at elk hunting. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Now I would need somebody to help me pack it out because I don't know if I could do it.
Don't ask me.
But
I would love to go. I would love to go elk hunting, but it is so expensive.
yeah.
I think Arkansas might be the cheapest route, but I don't think the population's that good. I know the turkey population is terrible in Arkansas. That is the one thing that's bad in Arkansas is turkey hunting.
Everybody usually goes there for ducks. I
Yeah.
guess, right?
Yeah, but I mean, deer get looked over in Arkansas. Everybody that's there is duck hunting. They don't care nothing about a deer.
The first little story that I heard about Arkansas was from you when you were talking one time about duck hunting there, and you said this guy killed a buck that was big for him.
Yeah.
And which I hate this kind of attitude, by the way. I
Yeah.
can't stand it. But some of the other guys that saw it were like basically making fun of him for shooting, quote unquote, a small buck.
Yeah, and it was like a 130, 120. I mean, it was a huge
That's
buck.
insane.
It was a huge buck. And it was a club in South Arkansas.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it would be like if I gave you crap for the deer you shot. I mean, it was a friendly. It was not a.
Okay, so they weren't like being mean or anything like that.
Yeah,
like,
but there was some serious.
they weren't really irritated about him shooting the deer. They
No.
were just giving him trouble. Gotcha.
But they were still. I mean, they were somewhat serious.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned it a bunch of times. But yeah, they don't shoot. At least that club, they did not shoot anything that small, 120 range. They had some huge deer on that wall.
I just can't stand that attitude. And when I
can't
hear
either.
it from people, because I don't know.
I can't either. But it's
I could go on a rant about that.
Go ahead.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to.
And measuring deer, I don't think I've ever measured a deer myself.
I'm not against that, and I kind of like it. But now, if that's the only thing that you're interested in,
Yeah,
you know,
that's where my problem comes in.
yeah. And like, I don't know.
I'll give a story. So Dad
Go
killed his
ahead.
first deer last year,
Okay.
and he did not want to get it mounted because he said it wasn't big enough. It was an 8-point. It was a good deer, but he did not want to get it mounted because I don't want to speak for him, but I don't think he he didn't want to show other people when they say it's a small deer. But that's where we've come to. But it's not a small deer.
Yeah.
You know, I had to talk him
Yeah.
into getting it mounted.
Yeah. I was at the. We're going to keep on with this topic. I'm going to get started.
I hope you do.
I'm trying
to get you started.
I was at the taxidermist a couple years ago, and this guy brings in this deer, and I could tell like he was fishing for the approval of everyone that was there.
Yeah.
I say everyone that was there. It was me and the taxidermist that was there. But he brings this deer out of his truck, a massive thing, and like I can't remember it crystal clear, but like I remember there being tons of mass on this deer, and he had like an extra main beam coming out with trash on it, and anyway, 110% you get that deer mounted.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just don't know. Keep in mind, he is at the taxidermist, at the taxidermist's house.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just don't know. Do you think I should get him mounted? And the taxidermist is like, whatever you want to do. Like, I'll be happy to hold on to it for a little while if you want to think about it, but whatever you want to do. And I'm thinking, you, my friend, are just fishing
for someone
to say, absolutely. And I don't know.
I hate that.
And I guess
that's the Instagram hunters.
Yes.
That's exactly what that is.
And like I truly do just love the whole sport. Like, I'll walk you through everything. All right, so the scouting for a deer. The next best thing, and it's a very close second, is actually finding deer and getting them on camera. I love that.
Yeah.
There is definitely a dopamine hit when you put a camera out and you go and check that camera, or it gets sent to your phone, whatever, and you get pictures of bucks on there. It's like, oh yes. Like,
there's no better
it's
feeling.
Awesome. And hunting for the deer in whatever style you choose, as long as it's legal. And shooting the deer, obviously that's fun. Recovering. I enjoy even last year, I forget how many, like this, of course, this is bucks and does total, but like 5 or 6 deer last year, and I only took one to the processor.
Yeah.
And that was because I was so tired by the time I drug it out. I don't think I physically could do it. And I took it to the processor. But the rest of the deer, like, I enjoy bringing them back to the house and cleaning them here. Letting my little boy Dawson see them, and seeing him get exposed to hunting and seeing an interest grow in it. And anyway, once it's aged, once the meat has aged in a cooler, taking it inside and butchering it.
Yeah.
I like to cut it up, debone it, and package it up so that
100%.
we can. I enjoy the whole process, and obviously, I want to chase the biggest deer that I can because that's the most rewarding.
But it's not about that.
It's, I don't know.
I'll be honest, out of all the things you said, the shooting is, if I had to rank them, what I would rather do, I think the shooting is pretty low on the totem pole, honestly.
I see what you're saying.
Like
the shooting is not low on my totem. Like, I do love that.
The recovery is probably the best part, in my opinion. The recovery is amazing.
It's fun, but
with your buddies,
but it's a roller coaster of lows and highs.
Yes, and that's why it's fun.
Yes,
you get to call your buddies and say, "I smoked him," and then you realize you did not smoke him. Yes. But thank God you shoot expandables, and that saved you in a pinch.
That's like last year when I shot one. I felt so good about the shot, and Talon shows up. Talon thought that he was coming to help. And the deer was basically just under the tree stand, and I just needed help dragging it out or something. And we had to look for it, and like it was getting kind of dicey there for a little bit before we found it.
Yeah.
But yeah, lows and highs. But I don't know. I do enjoy the whole process. So last year, I killed. To me, it was a nice 8-point, and that camera finally died. Yeah, it's okay. We still got this one.
All right.
But anyway, killed him. I wanted to get him mounted, and was super proud of him. But, and I think I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it briefly again. But the one that got me the most fired up was a small, I thought it was an 8-point when I shot because it all happened so quick, but it was a 7-point because he was missing a brow tine. But I had listened to a podcast about calling deer.
Yeah.
And it was pre-rut in this area. I knew the deer should be like getting antsy.
Yeah.
And anyway, I scouted into the wind, went to this scrape that I knew was there because I had scouted during bow season. And I rattled, and it wasn't 10 minutes. It was less than 10 minutes. I see a deer coming toward me. And my mindset, I was like, it's probably a daggum doe. And but I was thinking, like, did this really just work? It's probably a daggum doe. And I look, and I could see horns, and it was like a rack. I thought, oh, my gosh.
It did work.
And no joke, I'm sitting against this tree with my rifle in my lap, and I'm just watching this deer. I'm in disbelief that this worked.
Yeah.
And what I'm so in awe at is, like, he's doing exactly what I pictured him doing, like walking this transition, coming to check this scrape out after he heard, commotion here.
Yeah.
And anyway, I was so thrown off that, like, it took me a little bit to realize, like, okay, Taylor, you got to shoot now. And anyway, it was cool. He saw me. I didn't move, but he saw me. He could tell, like, something was out of place.
Yeah.
And he looks. He sees me sitting against the tree. He does a quick little, head check, whatever you call that. And then he just goes about his way. He was like, oh, we're good. He was totally relaxed. And anyway, he ends up stopping, and I get a shot off, and he drops right there. But, like, that, I would have taken that hunt.
That's what it's all about.
I would have taken that hunt. It was the most fun hunt that I had, even with the other 8-point that I killed.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I love the whole process.
Some of the most fun hunts I've ever been on, I haven't killed anything.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's videoing for somebody or whatever it is.
I feel like I'm lucky because I drive a bus, so that kind of hinders me a little bit, especially when the time changes. But, I'm still able to get into the woods if I play it right and it's the right spot, right conditions. Like, can't every time, but I get off work earlier than most people.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm lucky to be able to sometimes slip into the woods after work.
Yeah.
And lucky enough that my wife doesn't mind it, as long as I don't go overboard with it.
Yeah.
Which I can sometimes. And anyway, but I know that there's guys that don't get to hunt as much as I do. And therefore, if you're taking the less time you spend in the woods, the less chance you have of getting a deer, much less a, mature quality big deer, big buck. So, like, and who wants to go sit in the woods all of deer season, every chance they get, and keep passing up these quote unquote smaller bucks and go home with nothing to show for it?
Yeah.
And then they get burned out. They don't want to go because they're feeling pressure that they can only kill this certain age class of deer or this certain size of deer.
Yep.
And then sometimes they get burned out and they don't go because of that.
And then they stop hunting.
Exactly. And, like, all because sometimes hunters can not be supportive and they can, put someone down for what they shoot. Yeah. I just don't agree with it. I don't support that.
And also, I wanted to add, a lot of people think that less hunters are good, and that is not true at all.
No.
No matter what, whether it's duck hunting, deer hunting, whatever it is, that is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it takes funning away from deer hunting and on public lands.
Yeah.
And I've seen that be a trend here lately, that you want less people hunting, and that is stupid.
No, I don't agree with that. And just whatever gets you in the woods hunting, I think is
even
good.
If you have a crossbow.
Exactly. Thank you.
You have opened my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I think you should open yourself up to have success as much as possible, assuming that it's legal and all. So, like, if something makes you happy and you would be happy with that deer, it gets you excited, do it.
Nail it.
Do it. And anyway, that's my take on it. That's my hot take.
How many deer did you miss with your bow before you killed one? When you first started bow hunting, like with the actual bow? Or did you hit your first one?
I could be corrected, because if I've missed one, I know my brother-in-law would know, because I would have told him. But I'm not thinking of a deer that I've missed with my bow. Now I've made some bad shots.
I was about to say I've made bad
totally
shots,
missed,
but I haven't missed.
Not. Yeah,
I was just wondering. How many have you made bad shots on?
Let's don't go there. Let's don't go there. There was one last year that it was a very high shot, and the deer ran off. It was a doe, because it was like it was going to be the first deer of the season. Like, I was ready to get some meat, and anyway, I never could find her. There was no blood.
Yeah.
And when I last saw her, she had the arrow sticking out of her. It didn't pass through. I really feel like it was high enough that she lived.
Yeah.
I really do, because I searched that place high and low trying to look for her, and my arrow.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find it.
The arrow was the most important part at that point.
Yes. But here's a funny story, though. This was 4 or 5 years ago. Let's say 4 years ago. Cut the average. I was hunting, and it was over a feeder. And anyway, it was one of those spin feeders that had the metal legs.
Yeah, three legs.
Little 1-inch tubing. And anyway, I've said it many times on the podcast before talking, is like I struggle to see in low light. Yeah. Even when it's good legal light, of course. Yeah. Like, I still struggle to see. And anyway, it's like things have to be moving for me to be able to make it out. And anyway, there was this doe that, again, it was early season. I remember this day. It was like the first day of doe, what I'll call doe season. Like, the first 2 weeks of bow season is like bucks only.
Yeah.
And then after that 2 weeks, you can shoot does.
Yeah.
And it was the first day that you could shoot does.
Okay.
And I knew I was shooting her if she came out. Well, here she comes. And I go to shoot, and I let it go, and it's all of a sudden I hear this twanging, this clacking sound. I thought, you have got to be kidding me. I thought, I have missed that deer, and I have hit my feeder. And I'm shooting Rage Broadheads, and I go down there. I knew for a fact I didn't hit this deer, because I could tell when she ran, like, she was not hurt at all. I heard the metal sound of the feeder. I go down there. My arrow is stuck. The Rage Broadhead, like, the tip of it is barely poking through the other side of the 1-inch tubing, but it went halfway through that tubing. I almost pierced the other side, and my arrow's just sticking there. And I couldn't get the broadhead out. I just unscrewed my arrow and left it. Later, I ended up selling that feeder. The broadhead was still yes. And I said, "Don't ask how that got there." Anyway, but I couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't see the leg in front of her.
Yeah.
And anyway, I squared it up.
There's nothing worse than losing your arrow. I think it was my first year bow hunting. I had a doe come out. It was 35 yards, and I was a kid. And I pulled back on that thing and thought I was going to nail it, and I shot and hit it in no man's land, and it took my arrow, and I didn't never see it again.
Well, now, I will say,
that deer did not die either.
I think I got lucky with not missing these deer entirely.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Jansen will say that the first deer that you shoot at, you're going to miss with a bow.
Yeah.
And I get what he's talking about, because the most intense form of target panic ever, when a deer comes out and you're shooting, like, there is no decision making happening. You are 100% on autopilot.
Yes, 100%. And you better have a lot of practice.
Yes. And 100% autopilot. That's the only way I know to describe it.
Yeah. Because
it's like you're having an out-of-body experience, and then next thing you know, the deer's running by, and you're like, which way did it go? And are you like that?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I remember this deer walking out one time, because I It was after the little feeder incident.
Yeah.
Incident actually. I remember thinking, when the deer comes out, I am not reaching for my bow, and until like I have calmed myself down, and I'm going to talk myself through it.
Yeah.
And anyway, here comes the deer, and I thought, okay, I'm going to watch, and I watch for a little bit, and then I get the bow, and do my thing. Anyway, and like the whole time, I am mentally talking to myself, taking me through the process.
Yeah.
It went flawless. Everything was perfect. And anyway, and I wish I could say every time after that I did the same thing, but I'm autopilot. I'm
That
back
goes
to
out the
autopilot.
window when a
Yes.
buck comes in.
Which is like, if anybody has heard about the shot IQ stuff or Joel Turner,
Yeah.
when it comes to archery, that is 100% what he is selling. Is like talking yourself through the process,
Yeah.
making decisions to stay in that moment and not get into that autopilot mode.
Yeah.
And anyway, when he was telling stories about how he got started with the shot IQ stuff, it's the same type of stories like what I just said,
Yeah.
where he had to calm himself down, here I go type stuff. And it really does make a big difference.
One thing I did that really, really helped me was last year. The same thing you're talking about. I was just, every time a deer would walk out, especially like when bow season first came out, I was just, wired.
Yeah.
And anyway, I started having to, like, when a spike or a couple does will walk out, I'll pull my bow off and draw back and go all the way to the click and then let down, just to, in my mind, know that you can get all the way there and not shoot it. It's not that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped me a lot, for sure.
Yeah. And like, I can definitely say that in that autopilot mode, I was going so fast. It's like the pin is, okay, yep, there's the shoulder. That's about right. Boom. And like, you should be slowing down and thinking like, I'm going to aim here, aim for the heart. That way, if he drops, you're still getting double lungs, whatever. But anyway,
You live and you learn.
I doubt I'm the only one that does that.
You're not. I don't think there's probably not many people that can't not go on autopilot.
Mm-hmm. You definitely have to take a step back, and I don't know the best way to describe this or say it, but like remove yourself from that situation mentally and be like, okay, and start talking yourself through the processes.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the best way to go about it is you got to have some sort of structure. If you don't structure or have a plan when that deer walks out, you will not kill it.
yeah, because you're gonna be shook up, especially if it's a bigger buck.
Yeah. Also, when you're on hunts and you're like, we're not going to see anything on here, and then one does come out, it freaks me out.
Yeah,
I can't think. But yeah, if you got to have some sort of structure to get your shot off right, or you're gonna sink a broadhead into a feeder.
What broadheads did you say you were shooting this year?
Schwacker.
The regular ones or the Levi Morgan ones?
The 2-inch, the regular ones.
Little straight cut.
Yeah.
Straight blades.
Yeah.
I
thought about trying them dead meats.
Is that what I told you I have?
Yeah.
I never know if it's the mega meat or the dead meat. It's
one?
in that quiver right there. Let me get it down for you.
I want to hear it, or I want to see it. That might be the mega.
I forget.
I think the only difference is one's an inch and a half cut and one's 2-inch.
That is 2-inch, I believe.
It looks big.
So when I got my Bowtech, the end of deer season last year, I got some of those because I was trying the fixed blade thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I won't say I had bad luck with it, but like, I just don't think it like lived up to the hype that I was expecting.
Really?
And anyway, I thought I'm just going to go with these mega meats, big cut. I've heard a lot of good things about it. T-Bone uses it.
Yeah.
Chris B was using them, I think.
Yeah.
And anyway, I shot a doe for meat and doing a little deer management experience to see if her button buck would stay around.
Yeah.
And anyway, shot her, and dude, it zipped right through. and like buried in the dirt on the other side, and blood everywhere. When it took like 10, 15 yards for it to really open up and like to start having this massive blood trail.
Yeah.
But if I'm lying, I'm dying. I'm walking once it starts getting a good blood trail and like really spewing, and there's blood sprayed onto the trees.
That's crazy.
And anyway, like on this side, you see like trees where it's, I guess squirting out or whatever, and hitting them. And over here, there's just a bunch of blood on the ground. Like she's pouring from both sides.
And that's my one thing with whackers is you only have, so on the entrance you have an inch cut, and on the back end you have a inch and or 2 inch.
Because they open up in the
they open up outside or inside the ribs.
Yeah.
Which is good and bad, but like I said, you're really only gonna have blood pouring out on one side.
What about those? Have you seen those new broadheads? The Beast, the Beast broadheads.
The Beast
Broadheads.
I haven't seen it.
It's Josh Bomar's.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen them, but I've heard about them.
Yeah. Kind of expensive, like $60 for 2 of them. Comes with 2 broadheads and I think a practice tip.
Yeah. 2 broadheads.
2 broadheads for $60. And anyway, but they look really cool. Like they even come with this glove to that you're supposed to put on, like when you're putting them on your arrow, because they're so sharp.
That's got to be marketing.
It is all marketing.
Has to be marketing.
It's all marketing, but that's good marketing though.
Yeah, that's very good marketing.
But they're supposed to be like so sharp, but they're spring loaded.
Okay,
So it takes like supposedly very little pressure for the blades to open up, and when it's going through, it's the spring is stiff enough where like it's not gonna give on any tissue or anything, but if it contacts the ribs, it will fold back, and so like bone will make the tips fold in, and then once it gets past the rib bones or whatever it's hitting, then it'll open back up and keep going.
Was it the severed broadheads that kind of did that same thing where once they open up, they swivel? So, like, say you go through a rib cage and one blade hits a rib, that blade will swivel, and then once it gets past, it will open back up.
I don't know. This was the first first broadhead that I was aware of doing any kind of technology like that avoids the bones, quote unquote, avoids the bones. But like they could have. I don't know. I've always been on the rages. Like I never really ventured a whole lot from the rages.
Yeah. I've shot a rage hypodermic for years.
And that's what I've always used.
I did get into fixed blade stuff a couple years ago, and the Muzzy Trocar was by far the best I found.
The best thing about the fixed blades, in my opinion, is they can you can resharpen them and use them. And that was why I really went into that rabbit hole, I guess, of shooting them. Yeah. But I don't know. That part is nice, I guess, but the ones that I was using was the single bevel. It's the tooth of the arrow, and I probably didn't pick out the best ones at the time, but it was the tooth of the arrow single bevel, and it's a 1-inch cut.
Now, don't those have a certain way they spin?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought they were.
And the tooth of the arrow, they only make them now. Iron Will, I think it's Iron Will, does it different. You can get a left or right bevel.
Yeah, that's Iron Will.
But the tooth of the arrow single bevels, they would only do it right. And they had an argument for it because, like, if you are shooting a left single bevel, like your arrow's clocking to the left, when it hits something, there's a chance that arrow is going to unscrew.
Oh, I bet it will.
From the broadhead to the shaft. And anyway, so they only made it in right. That way, when it hits, everything's spinning right. Nothing's gonna, that structural integrity is gonna stay intact.
Do you think there is anything to that?
What?
The arrow spinning, like having a helical on your broadhead, so to speak.
For hunting, no.
You think they fly better? Do they actually have a helical, or is it just the way they're cut? Like the
Broadheads?
yeah.
No, it's just the way they're cut.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I don't think that there's a difference when it comes to me shooting. If I was Levi Morgan or Chris B,
Yeah.
I would probably argue that there is a difference in clocking your arrows left versus right.
Yeah.
You know, but for my shooting, I'm never going to notice a difference.
Yeah.
I always fletch mine right helical just because I don't want to have to deal with that practice tip or whatever I'm using unscrewing.
Yep.
I will say that.
100%.
But now my old bow that I was shooting, it naturally wanted to throw the arrows to the right.
Really?
Yes.
That's not common.
I know. And like I shot it bare shaft without fletchings, and it was throwing it to the right. So that's why I fletched them right helical. And then when I bought my Bowtech, it was throwing them to the left. And I thought, well, what do I do? So I went down the rabbit hole about it, and I just decided to keep doing it right.
I would. I'll be honest with you, though. After the day, I've shot tack vanes in tournaments, shot them for years. After the day,
Don't say you're done with.
I'm not done with them, but they're on my bad side for sure.
I've never had the issue like you had though with it coming apart at the wrap.
Yeah, that.
Did you clean the arrows before you put them on?
Yeah, with alcohol. I sanded them, cleaned them with alcohol, cleaned them off again, like made sure they were dry. Primed the. No, I didn't prime the shafts. I put the wraps on, and then primed the arrow wraps with the primer pin. Primed the vane, and then stuck them on.
What kind of jig are you using?
Bitzenberger with the right hand helical.
I don't know.
Today's the first issue I've had out of those areas.
Out of curiosity, was it all the blue veins that you had issues with?
It might have been. Holy crap! Will this stretch everything?
Yeah, it will.
I will be dang. I didn't even notice that.
Anything else you need to know? Hey, the only reason I know that is because Wesley, in talking with him, he talked about the white ones. He's never had an issue with them, but he ordered a different color. I forget what color he said, but he had issues with them sticking.
What in the world? I guess I'm going to have to refletch.
Because I've been wanting to get some different colors, but I've stayed away from it for that reason. And now that
what's the difference?
That kind of, I don't know, unless there's some kind of dyes or chemicals. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna refletch those when I get home with the same stuff. But if it happens again, I'm gonna change. Either go all white or.
Even though they're heavier, I do like the all white, just for hunting purposes. Even though they're heavier than the tack veins and the blazer veins, I really like those AAEs or AEEs.
Yeah,
Is it AAE?
Is it? Yeah, it's AAE. Is it what your crossbow has?
Yes.
Okay.
Max Stealth, I think, was the names of them. Anyway, they're I tested the tack veins, the blazers, and the AAEs, the Max Stealths. And the blazers were so noisy compared to everything else. They were just like flapping.
Yeah.
Anyway, the AAEs, from what I remember, they flew the best, but they were a lot heavier, and I forget the grains. And at the time, I was really wanting to focus on the FOC.
Yeah.
So shave as much weight as possible. The tack veins steered good, and they were light, and they were the quietest.
Yeah. I do want to move. They came out with a 2-inch tack, the same shape as that, but it's just in a 2-inch. I want to try it.
Yeah. I really nerded out on the arrow stuff and the arrow building.
Oh, I can talk about it for days.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm not smart enough, though, because that just makes me so mad. I mean,
you try to be cool and have some blue on your arrows.
You know why those are blue?
Why?
Because I ran out of white.
And you just had some blue ones laying around?
I had 2 packs of blues, and I said, you know what? I'll just throw blue on there.
That's the 2-inch ones you said?
No, those are the 225s.
The 225s. I got the 275s.
Yeah, I like the.
Or I would give you some.
I like the smaller ones. I think.
Yeah,
I don't think you need that big of a vane for if you're doing a field or if you're doing a mechanical.
I agree.
Which boning has a heat. It's called a heat vane, and
Uh-huh.
it's like this big, and it's a little longer than a blazer, but it's the same shape as a blazer, and it's really good.
I agree with that. And really, if I wanted to, I could shave off some of this weight and go with the 2-inch instead of the 275,
Yeah.
or I could go with the 225s. Shave off a little bit of weight, but again, with my
They're done, and it's
with my
almost
talent level, I don't think it's really gonna matter for me. But
you're a better shooter than that. You'd be dang good if you put a peep sight in your bow.
I really do. I want a peep sight when I'm shooting with my buddies,
Yeah.
but when it comes to hunting, I don't want to have to deal with it
Yeah.
because I can see better without the peep sight.
You have a legitimate reason,
Yeah.
and you do not shoot bad whatsoever without the peep sight.
When I first started shooting without the peep sight, I thought, oh gosh, but like it made me realize how sloppy I was on my anchor.
Yep.
And once I was consistent with that, and the nose button helped a lot.
Yep.
Putting the nose button in and having that second anchor point,
Yep.
anyway, consistently, it helped a bunch.
I mean, the peep sight is all. The peep sight is is a bold claim too, but it's kind of a correction to bad form.
I can see that.
It's to make sure that you have the same aspect the same. You're looking at the same thing every time.
Yeah.
So if you know for sure that you're looking at the same thing and you have the same form, then that's all that matters. So, I mean, you're going down the right path.
That's another reason why I'd like to have this target bow, so that when I'm shooting with my buddies,
Yeah.
I could have the peep sight and all. And plus, I meant to say something about this earlier, but the conversation went somewhere else. But when we started the podcast, you were talking about having the scope on your target bow. Do they? Well, I guess I should first ask, like, is it legal? Can you have a scope on your bow for hunting?
I think so.
I'm wondering why this isn't more popular.
Because it sucks.
Why?
Because you always have to worry about the lens fogging up.
Oh.
It's harder. It's a lot harder to shoot with the lens in. 10 times harder to shoot with a lens in than it is without one.
Why is that? What do you mean?
Because all right, so have you ever had like a gun and you try to shoot it freehand and it's on a 3 power and then you move it to a 9 power?
Yes.
It moves a whole lot more.
Yes.
So when you put a scope in your bow, it looks like you're going just all over the world.
Really?
So you have to be super, super, super stable if you have a scope. If you're not, you'll get a headache from how much that thing moves.
So, how much would you say it zooms in?
Mine was a 6 power. They make up to an 8 power.
Okay. At these tournaments where people are target shooting, do most of them have the scope?
When they have the long bars, yeah. If they don't have long bars, it's a 50-50 if they have it or not. They probably don't, honestly.
Your really good shooters are going to have the people that are hitting the X.
The people, if they have a long stabilizer on their bow, 30-inch stabilizer, they will have a lens.
And like those are typically the people that are hitting the X's every shot.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it without a lens, but yeah.
The reason I'm asking is like when I'm shooting, because I will print off some Vegas targets to shoot with my bow. And honest to goodness, I don't see the X.
Yeah.
I'm just aiming for the center of the yellow.
So a bunch of those guys, they will have, their pin will be bigger than, so like we're shooting a 19th thousandths, all right? You have a 19th and a 10 thousandths pin.
Yeah.
They will have like a 29 thousandths pin.
So it's super small.
No.
Super big?
It's super big. They don't want to see. So a lot of people, if they see the X, it gives them anxiety. So the more that pin will cover up, the better. So, you have your yellow ring, your blue, and then your red.
Yeah.
They will have a pin to where it covers up that whole yellow ring. And that's the way they shoot. And there's a lot of good shooters like that. A lot of times, if you're shooting bad or you have anxiety, it's because you're seeing too much. So, like, if you put a lens in your scope right now, you would be awful. You would have to practice with it for a while. And that's where those long stabilizers come into effect, to where they can hold steady enough to use the magnifier.
I got you. I'm with you. I'm with you now.
So you can't just put one thing on your bow, and the stabilizers would help you either way, but it's a whole setup.
Gotcha.
But a bunch of those guys shoot full power. I mean, it's not crazy, but like 8-power lens, it's so hard to shoot. It's terrible.
I can see that.
But then you get into, so if you have a lens, so like you wear contacts.
Yeah, and they're bothering me right now. So if you see me like
I see that
blinking my eyes slowly, that's what's happening.
So if you have a lens in your scope, then you have to run a clarifier or a verifier, and that's your peep sight. So like you'll have a lens in your scope, but then you'll also have a lens in your peep sight. And what that does, so like if you run just a regular peep sight with no lens in it, with the lens in your scope, sometimes it'll just blur. So like I didn't run one because I have good eyesight, so I didn't really have to use one. But you would probably have to have a clarifier or a verifier. So you pick one. So if your target's blurry, and I can't remember which way it is, but if your target's blurry but your pin's clear, you need a verifier. If your pin's clear but your target's blurry, then you need a clarifier. And it might not be that same. It's one of those two, but basically, so you couldn't never use one for hunting, is what I'm trying to get at, because you would have to worry about your peep sight fogging over, which it would do a lot, and your lens fogging. It just would not be a good idea. But yeah, there's more to it than putting long stabilizers on there and shooting X's. So that'll make you feel better about yourself.
I really want to do it. Like I really do have a desire to just be that good where I can just.
You can. I mean, you're going to need one of those though.
Why that? I don't not believe you, because everybody that is winning these tournaments and shooting good, they have something like this.
It's because that trigger gives everybody anxiety. If you shoot enough arrows, punching that trigger will give you anxiety, and you will have target panic like you've never seen.
And so the way you're firing this one is you are rotating it.
Yeah. Is
that right?
Yep. So basically, when I pull back and anchor, as soon as I get it, and I don't know how you shoot, but like when I pull it back, the string comes down, and when I come up, the peep sight comes in, and everything lines up. When it all lines up, and this elbow goes back, it clicks. So as soon as I anchor, it should click, and then once you get on target, you start working that release, and it'll fire when it's ready.
So when you're shooting, what's going through your mind? Are you solely thinking about working that release, or is your mind split between holding that pin still and working the release, or what's happening?
That's where the talent comes in. That's where I'm terrible at.
Okay.
So but in my head, the perfect setting is I'm focused. This side of my brain is focused on holding that pin on the dot or on the deer, whatever we're shooting, and I'm just trying to pull my elbow and touch that back wall. So I'm not worried about what my fingers are doing. I'm just relaxed and pulling.
Gotcha.
And it'll go off on its own. But as long as the main thing is hold the. I mean, so like if you're shooting a trigger and you're anticipating the shot, you will not be able to hold that pin where you want it.
I can't do it. I cannot hold the pin steady.
Yeah.
But like a little cheat code and this may only work for like a short period of time based off what I've seen about target panic and what it is. But like what I've started doing is accepting the pin movement.
Yep.
And I'm in my mind mentally, I'm trying to color that dot with my pen.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That's a good, yeah.
And once I've started doing that, my groups have gotten a little tighter. And then like kind of what I think you said, I'm coloring that dot with my pen, and it's helping me stay in that dot a little bit more. And while I'm doing that, I'm squeezing that trigger, not squeezing the trigger, because I know you're not supposed to do that in archery. But
no, are you nailing the trigger, or are you squeezing it
I'm
off?
not nailing the trigger. No, I do not.
You just keep applying pressure.
I keep applying pressure, and in my mind, I'm trying to say squeeze, like that, to kind of keep my mind in it, but I don't always do it. And a lot of times that trigger happens before I realize it.
And see, that's perfect. You were shooting a trigger release how it's supposed to be shot. If you keep that,
yeah, but when I do that, my arrow doesn't hit where I want it to because it scares me. Because it's like I'm not quite done coloring yet. You know what I mean? I'm not done coloring, and then I've already got too much pressure on that release, and then boom, and I'm like, oh, gosh.
Well, see, this one scares you every time you shoot it. I have no idea when this one's going off.
But have you gotten over that jerking when it happens? Like you've accepted it now. Like you know it's going to happen.
Oh, the first time
your body doesn't go into shock.
The first time I got this, I had terrible target panic. I could not shoot. If you put a strap on I think I dropped my bow. That's how bad it was. It was terrible. Mm-hmm. And the first time I shot a back tension release, I had the target at 5 yards. And I draw back. And as soon as I draw back, I hear the click, and legit, I heard the click, and the rest, I just yanked my hand. It scared me to death.
Well, I will say, so I've shot with Wesley a time or two, and one time he was here at the house. It was me, him, and Chris. And he was shooting the hinge. And I was nervous just watching him shoot it.
Yeah.
Because he was so slow with it, and he was trying to be,
I
think. But he was so slow with it, I would hear that click. Boom! And then it would go.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I could just feel the tension. And I couldn't imagine being the shooter doing that.
It's oddly relaxing.
So I've seen, though, where Joel Turner with the Shot IQ program, where they have designed this thumb release that clicks. Have you seen it?
No, it clicks?
Yeah, it's a thumb with a click. And it's like,
I do not think I'd like that.
They go on and on about it. Like Podium Archer goes on and on about it, how good it is, because you're like bringing your conscious mind back into the shot when you hear that click.
Yeah, that would mess me up. that click messes me up sometimes.
Do you use this hunting?
Yeah, I used it last year.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna give me a thumb release though, honestly. But I mean, there's a ton of ways. I'm finally getting to where I'm comfortable, and the target panic is not showing up.
How will that change up though? How will you work that thumb release in comparison to that? Because
So
you won't be able to rotate it.
You can. You still work it the same way. So
the thumb release?
A thumb release. If you set it up, there's two ways to shoot a thumb release. One way is you have the barrel tucked into that thumb, and you rotate it just like that. Because you see, my thumb is not moving. My thumb never moves. And so you can run.
So what are you doing? You're easing up pressure on one of your fingers.
I'm just relaxing. I'm relaxing my index finger mainly.
Okay.
But I try to focus on keeping my ring finger solid. So keep your ring finger solid and pull is what I usually do.
So keep the ring finger solid. Your thumb, that barrel is against your thumb, and you're just relaxing your index finger.
Basically.
Is that right?
Yes, but you're not thinking about relaxing your finger.
Well, then how do you relax it then?
You just sit there. But then
a lot of shots.
Yeah, a lot of shots. But then the other way you can shoot that, and probably the best way, is to have a lot of pressure on that barrel, and barrel mean trigger, but
yeah,
have a lot of pressure on the barrel, but no movement, and just keep adding pressure, and it'll pop off.
Now I have seen some guys shoot with what you're talking about, the punching, and I didn't realize this was a way to shoot until I started seeing Joel Turner talk about it and watching some of my buddies shoot. But I don't have my release. It's back there. But it's on the camera here. But they're shooting, and their wrist strap is here, and their fingers are floating like this. And then they're sitting there waiting, and then just all of a sudden, their index finger just bam.
Yep.
And I'm like, golly,
yeah,
you should play for the Yankees,
and that's
as
how
Joel Turner would say.
And that's how I used to shoot. I mean, and you're right, a ton of people do it. And that's why.
And it's like they're thinking, okay, it's there now.
But you also see when those people do it, they're going like that, or they're dropping into it and popping it. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not easing up, and when it gets on there, holding it for a second and then doing it. They're coming across the target, bang, or they're coming down the target and bang, or they're coming up. And like when I had it bad, and I know a lot of people that experience this, but you'll have it to where no matter the strongest man in America could not get that pin on target. It just feels like there is 20 pounds in your bow.
Yes. And then it leans to you, since you can't bring the bow up with your bow arm, it leans to you bending back like this.
But when you bend back is when you pop.
Yes.
Yeah. But have you ever done this? Have you ever pulled back when that's happening and not had your finger behind the trigger and tried to aim? You can hold on that dot all day long. I swear to you.
It's just when you're
it's mind games.
Yeah.
It is mind games. So that's all this is, help you getting over that mind game. When that mind, there's nothing for your mind to freak out about. Once you get over the surprise.
Yeah.
But once you get over the scariness of this thing might fire right now, because it's not. I mean, as long as you have pressure on your ring finger, it can't fire.
So what about the back tension releases? Because I have.
That's what that is.
So this is considered the back tension?
Hinge and the back tension go hand in hand.
So what I'm thinking about back tension, though, I'm probably using the wrong words to describe it. Or maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about. Tell me. But what I'm thinking about with the back tension is like there's a safety or whatever.
You're talking about the silverback, the knock-on silverback?
I guess. But then like you're here, you're shooting, and then you take it off safety. And then once you get like a certain load weight on it, it goes off. And you really don't know when it's going off.
That's another form of back tension, I would say. I can't remember the exact term, but yeah. Knock-on silverback makes them, or Carter releases makes them.
Okay.
But yeah, that honestly.
Those are good too, though.
I would say that's if you have target panic, that is probably a better way to get over it.
And see, one thing that I can't help but think about is like the differences in target shooting and hunting. Like coming onto your target, for example. In my mind, I know the proper way if you're target shooting is to draw above the target, let gravity do its job, and that pin is going to naturally settle down, and you're not going to have to bring it down manually.
Yeah.
All right? That's the proper way to do it. But I also see the reverse argument where if you're hunting, I could see the argument where the better thing to do is draw and come up. That way, if your shot is more likely to be low instead of high when you do that. And the animal's going to drop. And if it drops, it's better for it to drop and you be holding low. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. I've never done that, though. I've always drawn either at the deer or right above the deer and dropped into it. I don't think I could draw. If I draw below it, it's totally on accident.
I don't know what I do. I think I have to really concentrate to make my pin and everything be settled above the target so that I can come down. It really is. Yeah, it really is me drawing back and coming up to target.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'm off center too, and I have to come way over here because I don't know.
I think honestly, and I could be totally lying here, but in my mind, I want to say that like I shot 2 deer last year, and I want to say when I drew back, my pin was on the deer as soon as I looked through the peep sight. And that could be from shooting in the yard and me getting used to it, and I'm guessing that's it. I don't really know, but I'm pretty sure that's how it went down.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever drawn from the bottom of the deer, but I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
That does make sense.
I always kept that in mind because I saw a video of Michael Waddell talking about that, how that's what he likes to do, and that was his reasoning for it. Is like he would prefer to hit low if he's going to hit off center.
Yeah.
And I just always and he puts a disclaimer in that video, target shooters are not going to tell you to do this, but as a hunting standpoint, this is what I've always done, and this is why I do it. I've just always kind of kept that in mind. But anyway, there's a fine line between the two.
Is there a reason you haven't done a back bore on yours yet?
Yeah, I'm poor.
Besides that, because we know that's a lie.
I guess the reason I haven't done it is I just don't really know what to put on it.
Yeah.
Really, because that's one rabbit hole that I have not went down yet is the back bars.
You need to go down it. You will hold so much steadier.
Well, I could tell when I held your bow, it was so much more balanced,
Yeah.
and I kind of do want to.
You honestly should. And I'll see if I have one at the house, and you can borrow it. But I mean, the back bar it balances the bow, number one, so you can shoot. You can set it up with a quiver, and it shoots really good with a quiver. Number two, but on the target shooting side, when you add that resistance left to right, so you have gravity obviously pulling it down, but when you add that, the bow's obviously wants to tip to the left now because you have that back bar, and if you're a right-handed shooter, but you're always pushing to the right, the way your hands sit on that grip.
Mm-hmm.
You're always pushing to the right. So when you have that resistance left to right,
Yeah,
it makes it so much steadier.
I would like to try it and feel the difference. Holding yours was the first time that I had felt a bow with the back bar on it.
Yeah.
And I really was kind of amazed at how balanced it was.
Yeah.
It felt really good.
And when you pull it back,
Now your draw length did not feel good.
I didn't know you were 35-inch draw length. That's why he wants a Bowtech, because he gains an inch every week.
And your let off, oh my gosh, that thing was heavy.
Well, all right. So that's another rabbit hole you can go down. A bunch of people say, so like there's 95% let off and 90% let off, but a bunch of people say that if you want to hold steady, you need to be holding something.
So that could be another reason why my pen floats as fast as it does.
Yeah. So like yours in comfort mode.
Yes.
Does it feel different in performance?
I have never tried it in performance.
So like if you're holding more weight, so basically, I'm trying to think of an analogy that would be easier to show. Basically, resistance equals like that's just how you stay steady. If you don't have resistance and you're just free floating, you're never going to hold it steady. Because it's going to go left easy, it's going to go right easy, it's going to go up and down easy. But if you can have it to where it wants to go one way and you're forcing it and holding it to stay at a spot, it's going to stay so
See,
much
I
steadier.
did not know that. I did not know that let off played a role in your steadiness.
All them target shooters, or I'm not going to say all of them, but if you look on the target bows on Matthew's website, you will see like it go down to 65% let off.
So what is your let off on right now?
80 versus 90, and I think 85 and 90 are like the most.
Okay.
So it's not a big difference, but you can tell.
Because I could definitely feel like it was wanting to creep forward on me, and I kept having to. I felt like I was having to really just. Keep
Which
it.
I think that's also just a lift thing. Also,
Really,
my V3X was 85%.
Well, now you know, Bowtechs, they're not having issues with their limbs right now.
I heard. All right, well, my Bowtech told me that it was the bow press doing that.
The bow press.
Yeah.
I haven't heard this.
So you know the Last Chance bow press at all the all the archery shops. So the I'm trying to think of what it's called. The legs that clamp on the bow that they come with the Last Chance kit. You usually see how up and down how my axle is almost even with my riser. But yours is not. So them legs when they press the bow, when they would bend the top of them limbs, the middle part of their legs was putting pressure on the riser, like right where the riser is on the limbs, and that's what was cracking them.
Gotcha.
That's what he says it was. And I mean, it makes sense. It makes total sense.
I can see that. I had heard that, and it could be both of these, but the thing that I had heard was that they had Matthews had gotten hold of like some bad.
I heard that too. Yeah.
Materials, and there was a certain batch or batches of bows that were made with this material.
Yeah.
And that's the ones that were having problems. It was a very what's the words I'm looking for? Small selection of the products that they made that were experiencing this trouble.
And I also one of my buddies bought a lift about 6 months ago, and they sent him an email, and they are lifetime warrantying all the limbs. I mean, they're making it right. They're not gonna.
I said that jokingly, but that's what's awesome about the company is like they're standing behind it, they're fixing it, and like that, like you say, you can't ask for anything better because stuff like that's going to happen. I think.
Oh, whatever boat you have.
Yeah.
And I had a Halon 32 a while back, and the limbs cracked on it. And I mean, I put thousands and thousands of arrows through that bow.
Yeah.
That was my hunting and target bow. And but the limbs cracked on it, and they warranted it like 3 or 4 years after the bow was new.
It's 6 o'clock. That means I'm getting trail camera pictures. I'm getting pictures of the wind blowing some trees.
Are you? My phone's been dinging this whole time.
Well, I think we're at a good point to wrap up. I think we had a good conversation, though. I enjoyed recording the podcast with you.
Yeah, I hope we
was
do it
fun.
again.
Yeah, definitely do it again.
I appreciate it.
Enjoyed shooting, too, and talking archery.
Yeah.
It's I like having somebody that I can go down the deep
I love
rabbit holes. Anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get to the bottom of this lighted knot thing, or either I'm just going to give up on it entirely. But anyway.
I want to experiment myself with it.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get together and shoot again soon.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you made it to the end of the podcast, thanks for making it this far and listening, staying with us. Give us a like, share, subscribe, whatever is appropriate for the platform that you're listening on or watching on. And we'll catch you next time. See y'all.
See you.